Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. One of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking about a huge Blackhawks series win. We're going to be talking about a huge Cubs series canceled. And we will be talking about White Sox injuries and the most frustrating news of the week. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. So I read that the season is probably not going to start until December. So you've got a while still. But that shouldn't stop you from heading on over to icehogs.com, getting yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, and signing up for season tickets and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, how did you enjoy this hot summer weekend in Chicago?
This was a great weekend for many, many reasons. But I think what really, really made it great was Friday night. The doubters, the naysayers were all silenced as the Chicago Blackhawks took down the heavily favored Edmonton Oilers. And that was a very good omen for the weekend because the overall weekend was great. So it got off on a pretty dang good start.
Yeah, it did. And honestly, I thought the Blackhawks had no chance of winning this series. On paper,
You did not embrace the meatball.
I did not embrace the meatball, but honestly, here's my thinking is the defense for the Blackhawks is terrible. Corey Crawford, recently coming off of recovering from COVID-19. So many young players. Jonathan Toews didn't look that great during the season. This is like, okay, what are the Blackhawks going to do to win this series against the team that just puts up so many points? And in fact, you start looking at the numbers and you see how often the power play that Edmonton was scoring goals. And you're like, okay, well, how the heck did the Blackhawks win this series? And the answer is they grinded it out. It wasn't always pretty, but you know what? They played hard-nosed hockey. Those young kids came to play and take this to the bank. As Connor McDavid played a fantastic series, he got outplayed by Jonathan Toews.
I think the biggest takeaway for me, obviously outside the obvious about Corey Crawford, because, before the series started, I said if the Blackhawks had any chance, they were going to need to win at least one of those games via a Corey Crawford stand-on-head performance. And that's frankly what we got the other night because the Blackhawks were heavily outplayed by the Oilers. The Oilers had way more shots, way more opportunities. But really what was huge was the fact that the Blackhawks took advantage of every Oilers mistake. And I'm not necessarily talking about penalties because through a lot of that series, the power play looked like absolute duty. But every time the puck was turned over, every, bad pass, every ill decision made on the ice, the Blackhawks took advantage of that. That's what you got to do. They, especially in this last game, the Oilers, there was just throughout the whole series, there were really big key turnovers, whether it was Mike Smith behind net, whether it was somebody else along the boards. The Blackhawks took those pucks away and they were able to score. And not only that, you had the Oilers dominating the second and third period. I mean, absolutely dominating. And it was one of those things where, if you get that many shots, that many opportunities, and you can't bury one of those, the other team is always going to come right back and score and take advantage of that. And that's exactly what the Blackhawks did on the game winner by Kubalik, which was set up beautifully by Jonathan Toews. Jonathan Toews had a point on the game-winning goal in the clincher, and he had the game-winning goal in the game before that. So Toews had one of his best series performances I can remember in a while.
Oh, absolutely. He just was fantastic. Fantastic. And honestly, the Oilers were like a three-man show. I mean,
yeah.
they really, their guys didn't step up. And the Blackhawks, you saw how many young players did they play in this series? Kirby Dach looks like the real deal. Kubalik looked great again. Jonathan Toews looked great. And the funny thing is the Blackhawks won a series that they were heavily, favored to lose. They were by far the underdogs. And you had Patrick Kane really didn't do much in the series.
No.
Which is funny because
Patrick Kane didn't do much of anything.
He had a lot of ice time in the series. And didn't do a lot. I mean, wasn't being given a lot of space, but other guys just stepped up. It wasn't so much that he did anything bad. It just other guys were stepping up.
Look at Matthew Highmore.
Yeah.
Look at the series he had. Duncan Keith had a pretty good series. Brandon
Slater
Stott had a pretty
Cuckoo.
good series. Slater Cuckoo, yeah.
So, you saw some guys just play really well. And then you have Alex DeBrincat, who finally showed up, but it was for a 5-minute major or a 4-minute double minor.
When they got out of that unscathed, even though it didn't necessarily take away the momentum from the Oilers, but they were getting shots, that told you right there that game was there for the stealing. And you know what? I think we can comfortably say it. The Blackhawks stole that series from the Oilers. I mean, they were down, what was it, 5 minutes to go in Game 3? And they got heavily outshot in Game 4, and they were able to win both of those.
They did it. Like I said, it wasn't a pretty series. It was great to watch. A lot of goals scored.
Which was expected.
Yeah. Corey Crawford, there was times where he looked great. There was times that he did not look great. I mean, the end results most of the time were good, but there were times where he just didn't look so hot. And I don't know if there's still lingering effects from COVID-19 or if it's the rust or what's going on. But there was
Probably
times where he just didn't look very quick when he would make a play on one side of the net and trying to go back the other side. Just wasn't quick to get there. Losing pucks that he normally doesn't lose. Just didn't look that great. And it's funny because I would have expected him, if you told me that the Blackhawks would win this series, that you'd be like, well, you would have to see probably the greatest hockey Corey Crawford's ever played. And that wasn't the case. Now, he wasn't bad at all. A lot of good things there. But honestly, it was Jonathan Toews and a lot of the young players of the Blackhawks stepping up that won them that series.
Yeah, I mean, thank God that Corey Crawford stood on his head in that final game. He was fantastic in that game. It was very nerve-wracking, too. One of the things, you can't take anything away from Crawford in Game 4, really, but, some of those shots, they had some pretty juicy rebounds, and there was a lot of net front presence, so you were on, the edge of your seat the entire way, and boy, there were some close calls. There was one that kind of fluttered off the post and kind of came back to Corey Crawford's side. The Oilers had some really good looks, and the more looks they had and the more time went on where they didn't score, as I said earlier, you just kind of felt like the Blackhawks were going to take advantage of that. And boy, the Oilers, they took that penalty with 2 minutes left. And the Blackhawks did the right thing. Instead of just trying to pound it home, they just played four-square keep away. It was great.
You know what, though, was when Edmonton pulled the goalie, I was like, it looked like the Blackhawks were down a man because it was they really had trouble clearing the zone, and it was a tough. It should have been a 5-on-5, and with an empty net on the other end, just couldn't do a lot. And there was a lot of times where the Blackhawks really struggled on the PK, and it's amazing that those demons on the penalty kill came back. And then we saw a lot of times when the power play that we praised so much in game one just went flat, that you're like,
Game 2 was particularly bad.
yeah, the demons just came back, and with all of these warts on the team, they won that series. And I'm hoping it's the grit and determination of this team more so than Edmonton is really just an overly flawed team with some high-end talent.
Well, I think, part of the whole thing is hockey's a funny game. It can be very fluky the way the puck bounces. And how many games do they play on that ice each day? A couple? I mean, that ice was definitely not in mint condition. That puck was bouncing and flopping, and it was like a drunk alien in a flying saucer.
I mean, you think about it, it's August. It's August. Even if it's in Canada, it's still August. So you've got that humid temperature, or the humid weather, which is going to make the ice bad. And you've got a lot of people playing on the ice. It's naturally going to be bad. And I tweeted out, I didn't hear any players specifically talk about it being bad, but you could just watch it. It looked like a dying fish, just flopping around the puck.
Yeah, it really did.
You're like,
just flopping around.
And you saw it at the start of periods. Obviously, when they Zamboni it, things look a lot better. But a couple minutes into the periods, it's right back to being bad. I wonder if the weather gets hot enough that they might have to Zamboni in between or in the middle of periods or something during TV timeouts or something. I don't know, because it was pretty rough.
It was. And it's also rough, too, when that puck is bouncing and you got a lot of young guys out there inexperienced. You got Adam Boqvist, you have Kirby Dach, Highmore, Kubalik. They're all dealing high pressure against a high-power team with a bouncing puck that's going everywhere. And they kept their composure for the most part. Yeah, the Oilers dominated in some areas. And you know what? There were some goals by the Oilers, some plays by the Oilers where you just say there wasn't much you could do. The Oilers were just that good. But it made all the difference, and they took advantage of some of their mistakes, and very well-timed plays made, whether it was a goal, whether it was a takeaway or something. It just goes to show that a lot can happen in the sport of hockey in a small sample in the playoffs. It's much more of a crapshoot than other sports are. And I think that seeing them do this, even though they're not going to get that big high draft pick, I mean, there's no shot now. It wasn't guaranteed, but we know they're not going to have a shot at it now. I just think that it was much needed for us as sports fans to have something to be really happy and cheer about, because I felt so dang good when the time ran out and the Blackhawks were celebrating and the horn was going off, and it just felt right again. And it was funny. I was stressed as hell during that third period. I was antsy. My heart was beating. I'm like, I'm so nervous. I'm so sweaty. But boy, oh boy, did I miss this feeling.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny because I was the same way. I was super nervous. I saw Edmonton take that penalty, and I was like, now it's just done. And then I was like, oh, nope, they pulled the goalie, and they're threatening. And I was just like, oh my God, why? I'm telling myself, breathe, because I find myself holding my breath. This is ridiculous. I mean, this is a play-in for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And if they don't win, they're in the, within a couple of teams of getting the number one overall pick. So I'm like, it's not a big deal if they lose, but, they won, and I was just elated. I was pumping my fist, and I almost, woke my kid up.
Eh.
Yeah, but, honestly, had the Blackhawks lost the series, they wouldn't have got the number 1 overall pick anyway, because the Pittsburgh Penguins are eligible for it. So that means that the league is going to put the fix in and give it to them.
Yeah. So I yeah, take that as you will. Exactly. I'm looking right now at Jonathan Taves' career stats. He's got 44 career playoff goals.
He's good.
73 assists, 117 points. Just reminding you how good he's been when it matters most.
Yeah. He talked about it, that how during the time off, he had legit time off, and he sat down and was watching old games, Blackhawks games, and he sort of reignited a fire in him. Not to say he was just bored, but he was reminded of how much he loved playing at that high level and that competitive nature, and he came out and it showed. He played a fantastic series. And it's funny because so much national praise was heaped upon Connor McDavid, and rightfully so. He had a really good series, but Jonathan Taves' numbers were equal, if not better.
Well, that's the thing. Connor McDavid was the big shiny star of that series, and yet you have Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves, who, Patrick Kane's won MVPs, and they've each won 3 Stanley Cups. So it was kind of the dream matchup, in my opinion, for the NHL, and you're going to get another great matchup coming up. And before we get to that, the other thing that I wanted to mention real quick, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard this already, but Corey Crawford now has 51 playoff wins as a goalie.
Yeah. 51 playoff wins, 2 Stanley Cups. It's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's amazing to see Corey Crawford being able to do this after everything he's went through, between the concussions, between COVID, and I tweeted this out the other night, and give the guy what he deserves, the attention he deserves, and boy, it's almost like it seemed like his Blackhawks story was over a year or two ago, 2 years ago, when he was out with the concussion, and we had to have old man Cam Ward and Colin Delia, and who was that third guy? I can't remember that third guy's name. He came up from Rockford.
Glass?
Yeah, Glass.
Jeff Glass?
Yeah. When they were playing, it looked like Corey Crawford's story with the Blackhawks is over. Now here he is, eclipsing 50 playoff wins, and still has a chance for more.
And the thing is he's already being talked about as the worst of the 2 goalies in the next round.
You know what? I'm gonna go biased. I'm gonna say I'm glad to have Corey Crawford.
I don't know if you noticed Robin Leonard, taking some shots at some Chicago Blackhawk fan tweets about the series.
Yeah.
You're not bitter or anything.
No, I really liked Robin Leonard when he was here. I really did. And, in other instances, I wish him the best. But right now, I really want to beat him. I really, really want to beat him.
Yeah. So, this series is going to be another tough one. The rest of the way for the Blackhawks is not going to be a cakewalk at all.
No.
It's funny, as high-powered of an offense as Edmonton is, and that might have been the easiest series that they might have if they continue to go on in the playoffs.
Yeah, the thing too is, I know historical stats don't always mean everything, but the Blackhawks have only beaten Vegas once so far in several years. So, they've had the upper hand. They've played some very close games, but Vegas has come up on top in many of those instances. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough series. And they just they beat a Colorado team that's very good too. And you know what? You could look at either team, Colorado or Vegas, the options that they were to play, and you kind of go back and forth. It's like, well, Colorado usually has our number, but Vegas does too, and they're both good teams. Though I'm kind of glad we don't have to worry about Nathan McKinnon in this coming series.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the playoff schedule here. Yeah, I mean, there's really no bad teams left in this, in the playoffs. I mean, no matter who the Blackhawks play going forward, it's a tough sled. Maybe Calgary, if Calgary's able to pull it out, but other than that, everybody's just like a powerhouse.
Yeah, so, okay, we got the Golden Knights, and then the 2 seed is the Avalanche, correct? Because that was for 1 and 2, I believe.
Yes. So they, bring that back up. So it is, that's the East. So Vancouver is the 1 seed. Colorado is the 2 seed. Dallas is the 3 seed. St. Louis is the 4 seed. Vancouver is the 5 seed. Calgary is the 6. Arizona is the 7. And Blackhawks are the 8th seed.
Yeah. You had a few other upsets, too, because the Coyotes beat the Nashville Predators, and that was a pretty big upset.
It made me laugh.
And made me... They had the Nashville Predators right now are in the middle of deciding what they're going to put on their banners for this year. Qualifying round participant 2020.
Sad trombone.
Wah, wah, wah. You know what? I just have that gut feeling if the Blackhawks move on. I'd have to look at what potential matchups would be after that. But, boy, there's just something telling me. Are we going to have to run into St. Louis in these playoffs?
Possibly.
We'll see. I mean, the Blues didn't exactly come out guns a-blazing, but, they're still a very good team, and they had our number this year, that's for sure.
Trying to find a bracket here. Why doesn't NHL have a bracket? I just don't remember if they did anything weird or if it's straight bracket where or if they reseed. I just don't know what they did with the playoffs this year. If they did anything different.
Well, it's kind of weird, but well, the big game tonight is Blue Jackets Maple Leafs. And did you see what happened in the last game?
Did Toronto come back
between those two?
Toronto come back from a deficit and win? I just saw tweets.
They were down 3-0 with like just a few minutes left, and they scored 3 goals and won it in overtime.
I'm looking at it right now. Is Columbus is up 1-0 in the winding down the first period. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was looking at I
don't know why I'm looking ahead. Vegas is a tough series. But it seems like the Blackhawks being in this bubble in Edmonton with nothing else to do, has really focused, and hopefully this series win bring some confidence in the young kids. I hope it's Patrick Kane's turn to wear the cape in this series. And honestly, I'm just excited about actual real playoff hockey.
Me too, my friend. Me too.
And hopefully we don't get weird times. I'm glad that they switched up the Friday time on that game, because originally it was supposed to be noon.
I know, those 9:30s. I couldn't do those, man.
Well, Friday was supposed to be a noon game.
Yeah,
So
that would have been bad too. And then when it was 6 o'clock, I'm like, hallelujah.
Yeah, like a real time. But do we have a schedule yet for game one?
I have not seen one. I
Okay.
feel like Monday we're going to see them.
Probably. That's tomorrow. Probably Tuesday.
Well, I think
Monday
Tuesday is when it's supposed to start.
So you meant
the schedule.
I thought you meant seeing them play.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know if they'll. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like they. It's not like they have to make travel plans or anything. They're just like, all right, you go out there and here's your ice time.
Right. Yeah. No. I'm just talking about. I'm just talking about when we'll see the schedule, because I have not seen anything yet.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I kind of like this no traveling. I like that the Blackhawks were able to celebrate a victory in Edmonton's own locker room. Because they
Isn't
were the home
that kind
team.
of funny?
Like, I don't understand
Isn't
why.
that kind of funny?
Yeah, why do they? I don't know. Whatever. But the Blackhawks celebrated in the Edmonton locker room that series victory. So that was a kick in the pants.
Yeah. Imagine being eliminated on your home ice when it's not your home ice, even though it technically is, and you were heavily favored. Ouch.
All right. So what do you want to
Just
move on
ouch.
to next? Where should we head to?
Well, I have something I want to talk about, and it's obviously a big topic. It really sucks that the Cubs have to go 4 days without playing. That was, but you know what? I'm glad that they were able to play it safe. And I think it was good that they called that series that day, not waiting around an extra night in St. Louis before coming back. And they're still having scrimmages, luckily. So I think David Ross is handling this very well, but it just sucks. And the next series for the Cardinals is also canceled against the Pirates. So how the hell they're going to make up those games, I have no idea.
You can't. I mean, you look at the standings, and you just see there's certain teams, we know which ones they are, that are just so far behind in number of games played, and there's just not enough time. There's just absolutely not enough time to to make those games up. Miami has only played. Atlanta has more wins than Miami has played games.
And Miami's like what, 7-1 and 7-2, something like that.
7-3. They're in first place in the division because they're going by percentage and winning percentage and not actually wins. But Atlanta is 11-6, so they've got almost they've got 7 more games. Miami's only played 10 games. St. Louis has only played 5 games.
Yeah, they're 2-3. They've only played 5 games.
Yeah. So the Cubs are 10-3, and the St. Louis has only played 5 games. So it's tough. Like you can't make some of these games up. Like it's going to be a point where between weather, you're going to have weather issues, rain, lightning, that you're going to cancel these games or postpone these games. and then you're gonna have these COVID ones, and it's not been an easy sled. And you had the Phillies have an issue a little bit, but Miami and St. Louis have it's been really, really bad. What's St. Louis up to? 17 personnel? 18?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot.
Miami, hit 20 something? So when the teams hit, everybody warned, this COVID spreads like wildfire, and it's the prevention is the key. Cubs have done a good job so far, knock on wood. But
it's not like you can. It's not like you can just say, "Oh, the person who just tested positive, you sit out, the rest play." No, because you got to test the rest of the players and see if they're positive, and you got to wait 24 hours to do that.
Yeah, and it's not like the test results are immediate. You send off the tests, you wait for the results. So there's timing issues as well. And I think that was part of the issue with the Cubs Cardinals series is somebody new tested positive, and they were waiting for tests for other people. And obviously, you're not gonna have those games because is it in the locker or in the clubhouse? How are you gonna have those guys interact at home plate or first base? So it's a tough one, and baseball has not done a good job. And you're seeing hockey has been so far pretty good. Having the bubble and having the bubble in Canada where the numbers are much lower. I haven't seen too many issues with NBA in their bubble.
No.
And baseball's the only one that's having an issue, and there's no bubble. So, I mean, the NFL needs to figure out what they're going to do. Are they going to go to a bubble? I don't know how they do it, but it's going to be tougher for them because it's starting to get cold weather, flu season, and anytime anybody gets the sniffles, which is going to be a lot more because it's the season when people get sick, they're going to be like COVID. And it's, people are going to, stop everything. And you're going to have guys that can't play on Sunday because they have the sniffles and, they need to know if they have COVID or not.
Yeah, it's really hard to deal with. And we're seeing all these new rules being put in on the fly with baseball. They're finally tightening up more. They should have tightened up more with COVID protocols in the first place. And now you have the new rules, the doubleheaders, and oh boy, it's just all a hodgepodge of weirdness right now in baseball. And, it's too bad the Cubs are on a roll and, they have to take 4 days off. But you know what? Safety first. At the end of the day, safety first.
It sucks though that I don't know. Maybe it sucks, maybe it doesn't. Depends on how you look at it. But they start the several day layoff after a massive blowout. So you're like, okay, you would sort of like to be able to get that bad taste out of your mouth. But on the other hand would you have rather had the stoppage be when you're on like a 7-game win streak or whatever?
Yeah, you could look at it either way, I guess. It's, the thing with the Cubs is that they're going to go to Cleveland and face a Cleveland team that's pretty solid. Their pitching staff as a whole has been pretty good. And, it's not going to be like you're playing the Royals again or the Pirates. It's going to be a bit more of a worthy opponent. But, what I can say about that is, a lot of those guys, when they go to Cleveland, they're going to get the warm fuzzies again.
Aye, yeah, absolutely. And the warm fuzzies.
David Ross and Jason Hayward are going to take everyone into that weight room. Be like, remember this place?
Yeah, it'll be nice. And it'll be interesting to see, we haven't had we'll be able to, by proxy, compare Cubs and Sox because the Sox have played Cleveland a bunch already and had some tough times against them. We'll see what the Cubs are able to do against Cleveland. It's not like Cleveland has like this amazing record. They're 9-7 right now. But they've had some success against the White Sox, and we'll see what the Cubs are able to do against them. Well,
I think Shane Bieber is pitching tonight against the Sox, so I don't think we're going to see him. I know we're not going to see him against the Cubs unless how long is that series? Is it a 2-2 again?
I think it's a 2-2.
Because I know they play at least 2 in Cleveland. Okay, so
haven't they been doing it as a 2-2 and then a 3-game weekend series?
Well, the Royals during the week was a 2-2.
Let's see, Cubs schedule. I know everyone will be shocked to hear this, but I don't memorize it.
No, it's yeah. I know. I only really look at the next game ahead, and all I know is that the Cubs are playing the Tigers right after that. I just don't know if it's after 2 games or 4 games.
No, it's 2 against Cleveland, and then in Cleveland, so it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's a 4-game homestand against the Brewers, and then Cardinals are supposed to come to Chicago next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, it's the White Sox that are supposed to play the Tigers. Okay, sorry about that.
Then the Cubs have not this coming weekend, the weekend after they'll be hosting the White Sox. And then Detroit, they go to Detroit.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Like I said, I only kind of look at the next series. So, yeah, we'll see about that Cardinal series again.
Yeah, and we
have to play 3 double headers in a row.
I hope.
Could you imagine that? Like, we got to make up all 6 games in one weekend. So doubleheader.
I mean, well, it's not a weekend series. It's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, like, are they going to play? And they're all 7:15 games. So you'd have to play like a nooner on a Monday. Like, I mean, does that make sense? Is it worth it? Like, nooner on a Monday. Nobody's going to watch.
No, but hey, we got to get the games in.
Are you able to watch the games at all? Or is it just radio?
Oh, I can watch them now. They're on Xfinity now.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah.
So my upstairs, I think I mentioned it before, so I have Uverse. And so we have the Marquee Network. But we only have the cable box and our main TV. And my office is in the 2nd floor. And so I have a TV up there that we put up there for my daughter when she was younger. She could watch TV while she was, while I was doing work and just sit in the office. But so on our upstairs TV, we have a Roku TV, and it's got the we don't have a cable box for it, but it has the Roku or the Marquee app. So I'm like, okay, I downloaded the app so I could watch the Cubs games. But it's weird. You have to log in through your service provider. So Uverse was not listed on there. Like, I literally have the channel. It's literally on downstairs. I can hear it playing on the TV downstairs. It doesn't recognize that it's one of the services there. So it's like, this is frustrating. So I can't watch the Cubs games while I'm working. And then I won a Apple TV, which is like a connected box. So I put that in the upstairs because we had one on our downstairs TV. So I put it on upstairs, and I was like, and I set it up to just auto download all the apps that were downstairs. And then I start setting them up, and lo and behold, the Marquee Network now works upstairs doesn't work on the Roku, but it works on the Apple TV. So now I'm able to watch Cubs games. And it was just in time for their weekend series to get canceled.
Yeah, of course.
But the Cleveland series, I will be able to watch upstairs while I'm doing some work. Huzzah. The trials and tribulations.
Yeah,
of,
I'm actually really looking forward to that.
trials and tribulations of the internet age.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that series again. It just brings back a lot of good memories seeing them play in that park, and I'm sure Marquee Sportsnet on those broadcasts are going to do everything they can to remind us of what happened in that ballpark a few years ago.
Yeah, probably. So quickly go back. We had the 4-game set against Kansas City, and I think both of us were pretty adamant that anything less than 3 out of 4 would probably be a disappointment, and it's exactly what we got. So 3 out of 4. And it wasn't. I mean, the first 2 games were pretty tightly contested, to be honest with you. The first game, although it was close score, the Kansas City never really got any offense going, but the Cubs got just enough. That second game was really close, and certain decisions made by the manager made it closer than it needed to be. Game 3 was kind of a rout, but then that fourth game, I was like, oh, Cubs are going for a 4-game sweep. This will be sweet. And I had some things I had to do. I missed the game, and I turned it on. I was like, I'll catch the end of it. And I turned on the score, and I'm like, what the hell? The hell happened here?
Yeah, they were due for an ass whooping, and it didn't really bother me as much. It was really ugly, and you could kind of tell from early on in the game, even when the score was either like 1-0 or tied, it didn't seem like it was their night. So, that was due to happen. But yeah, you went, what was it, 6-1 against the Pirates and Royals. That's exactly what you could ask for. It's exactly what we got. The Royals pitching, they handled the Cubs bats pretty well. You got to say. There were some close games there. I mean, at the end of the day, they won those games, so I'm not going to complain, but I was hoping that the offense was going to be a little more active, but they did enough to win most of those games, so I'm not going to complain too much. So, yeah, you just got to hope that some of this play can translate against better teams. I mean, I'm not trying to say, oh, their record is versus who they are, blah, blah, blah. But, you have been playing the Pirates and the Royals the past week or so. So the most difficult team they've played is probably the Reds. So you'll see what happens when they play some other teams.
And so in game 2 of the series, the Cubs had it pretty under control in that game. What was it? 5-2 going into the ninth.
Yep.
And David Ross decided to give a nice little easy opportunity for Craig Kimbrell, and he pooped the bed again.
Yeah, and I actually thought David Ross handled that very, very well. He's like, all right, if we're going to give him a chance, get him some confidence back, pitch him now against the Royals. And he was able to pull him when he could pull him.
Yeah, but it made it so unnecessarily close. I
put that on Kimbrell, not Ross.
No, yeah, absolutely. You've got to. You've got to make a decision on this guy, and you're paying him a lot of money, and
yep,
and he's just absolutely bottomed out, and I don't know
it's
what
like
the fix is.
It's historically bad.
Yeah,
it's historically bad.
It is just like it is like somebody did the Nicolas Cage movie Face Off, and they let a fan put on Craig Kimbrell's face and go out there. He is just getting rocked.
Yeah. And the frustrating thing too is that appearance, he struck out a guy on 97 up, and then he was ahead of the count in the next guy. So you're thinking, oh, maybe this is going to go well, and then nope.
And so when Ryan comes in to get those last 2 outs, you're a nervous wreck because they easily could win. You had the winning runs on base.
And Kyle Ryan, too. His velocity is way down, and he's getting hit hard.
It's like, I get when, you put Jefferson in the 8th. You get those outs, and he comes in there and has a nice inning. And I'm like, okay, let's hope he goes in there for a 2-inning save, wrap this up. And I was like, okay, Craig Kimbrell, maybe get him some confidence boost. And it's just, I don't know what's going on with that guy. I just really don't. I don't know if it's there's got to be some sort of combination factors of he's just, mentally his confidence is shot. Velocity's down is just a physical thing. Is there some mechanics issue? I think
it's everything kind of based on what they've said. And frankly, I think he's tipping his pitches a bit. Mean, look at the curveball. Nobody swings at it. Nobody swings at it. I think that says a lot.
So something's got to be done. And I don't know what it is, but you can't put him in a high leverage situation, and
no.
You can't put him in a close game. You don't feel confident putting him in a close game at all in any inning.
No, you can't. You can't. Right now, the guys I trust in the bullpen are Rowan Wick and Jeremy Jeffress. That's about it.
Yeah, that's really it. And the tough part is your starters, you're maybe getting 6. So, you've got to get 3 innings of relief effort somewhere in that bullpen.
Just think what a huge difference it would be if Craig Kimbrell was his normal self. What a huge difference that would be. Just that alone.
Well, then you feel like, then it basically comes, Jeffress in the 8th and Kimbrell in the 9th, and you just need 1 inning from the rest of that bullpen.
Yeah, you got Rowan Wick then.
Yeah, so Rowan Wick, then that, you just wrap these up. You got your 7, 8, 9, boom, boom, boom. And you feel like if that was the situation, you honestly feel like this is a legitimate team that could win the World Series.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying they can't win it now, but it's, they really have got to figure out that bullpen, and and you know what? Honestly, if you've got a glaring hole in your team, I feel like bullpen is one of those things you can sort of fix on the fly. The Washington Nationals did it.
Yeah, and they have guys in their farm system that actually look like they can be something.
It's great. Yeah. I mean, I would just like to see some heat, even if if nothing else, just some hard throwers come in.
Most other bullpens seem to have that.
I know. It's like everybody comes in and they're like, oh, he's a big hard throwing righty. Like, okay.
Even the worst of teams seem to have a slew of those.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, he's a big country boy, throws 98. Where's our big right-handed 98 mile an hour flamethrower guy?
Seriously.
So, yeah, I mean, otherwise things have been pretty smooth for the Cubs. I mean, everybody else in their division is below 500,
or not playing,
and below 500, as it would be with St. Louis. But Milwaukee 6-7, Cincinnati 7-9, St. Louis is 2-3, Pittsburgh is 3-13. Cubs are sitting pretty at 10-3, 4 games up on Milwaukee. When theoretically we're like a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah, just keep the gas pedal down, because the sooner you can kind of wrap things up, the much easier it is, obviously. You don't want to give any other teams life. You have another series coming up with Milwaukee. Don't do what you did the last 2 years and, have them at their throats and let go and then see them come back and overpass you. That happened last year. It happened the year before that. I don't think Milwaukee is nearly as good as they were the past 2 years, but you still don't want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to give anybody the opportunity, as we've seen that Christian Yelich can carry that team on his back. And
We want to talk about a player who's struggling.
well, today he went 2 for 3, lifted that batting average to a cool 149.
It would seem like he would start to get hot again before he faces the Cubs again, but you're just going to have to shut him down again.
What's funny,
He did
though,
it the first series, you have to do it again.
so he's got a 149 batting average and a 754 OPS. So OPS not too bad,
No.
but that batting average is brutal. But when he's hitting it, he's making contact.
Yeah. He just hasn't been hitting it nearly as much as he usually does.
Right. He hit his 4th home run of the year today. So most of his hits are home runs.
Yeah, well, gonna go all out, then you might as well.
Literally, what? 2020. Yes, he has 7 hits and 4 of them are home runs.
That's funny.
That's actually really funny. He has, this year he's 47 at-bats, 8 runs, 7 hits, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, no stolen bases, 149 batting average, 286 on base, and 754 OPS. So
What a weird line.
that means he's making clean contact when he hits the ball. He's just not seeing it well.
No. And you remember, he did come off that injury last year. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
He's not the only superstar that's struggling this year.
No, he's not.
Is Senor Joey Votto not looking good either. He hasn't cracked the Mendoza line yet this year. He's 196. But he's another one. 9 hits and 3 of them are home runs.
Yeah, and at least with Joey Votto, you can kind of make the excuse that he's getting older and he's slowing down a bit. Yelich is right in his prime, and I think Joey Votto will eventually, get hot again. He's got a 365 OBP, so he's still walking and getting on base. But he is 36 years old. He's not a pup anymore.
Well, we're 1 month away from him turning 37 too.
Yeah.
So he is at that age where the decline starts to hit pretty hard. Albert Pujols at this age was just becoming a shell of himself.
Yeah, and Votto, he had 2014 where he only played 62 games, but you look at the rest of his career, he's pretty consistently played 140 or more. So, he's got a lot of games under his belt. That's, his career started back in 2007, so he's been playing for 14 years, and Father Time always wins. You look at his power numbers too the past 2 years. He used to be a guy that hit mid-20s to the 30s. He'd average about 25, 35 home runs, somewhere in that range, where he hasn't cracked over 20 in several years.
Yeah, so man, it's funny just looking at Albert Pujols' career, just completely changed trajectories there. And, there was a time when he was one of the best right-handers of our generation, right-handed hitters.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it's just, he's a different guy. His walk rate between 2000 2001, 10.2% of his at-bats were walks, then went to 10.7, 11.5, 12.1, 13.9, 14.5, 14.6, 16.2, 16.4. So every year between 2001 and 2009, his walk rate went up to a whopping 16.4%. And currently it is 2018 was 5.6. Last year was 7.9. His strikeout rate in the year that he had 16.4 was a 9.1 strikeout, and now he's at almost 15%. Yeah. It's just father time caught up. I mean, look at these batting averages. 329, 314, 359, 331, 330, 331, 327, 357, 327. And these are the last couple years. 186, 244, 245, 241, 268, 244. That's a big drop. I mean, you went from a guy being, 430 to 450 on base percentage to being a 300 on base percentage guy.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his Cardinals stats, 328, 420, 617, and OPS north of 1,000. With the Angels, 257, 313, 450, 763. The OBP is below average. The batting average is right around average, and the OPS is slightly above average. He declined as soon as he went to the Angels. Now, when he went to the Angels, he still had pop. I mean, he hit 40 home runs in 2015, and he's still hitting 20 plus. With the Angels, he had several 30 years, several 20 plus. I mean, last year he had 23, so it's not like his home runs just disappeared, but you just look at the overall body of work and you see the difference. When he left St. Louis, he was 31, 32 years old. And, that's not old, but it's past your youth years. And, we got to remember, Pujols has had some bad ankles, so that no doubt in my mind has an effect. Since being with LA, he's only been an all-star one time, going back to 2012, where when he was in St. Louis, he was an all-star pretty much every year except like 2.
There was a year that he was an FWAR of 9.5. FWAR of 9.5.
That 2003 or 2009?
That was 2003. 2009, He was an 8.4. But
pretty close.
From 2003 till 2009, his FWAR was a 9.5, 7.8, 7.7, 8.1, 7.7, 8.7, and 8.4. Like, that's phenomenal. And these are what his FWARs have been over the last several years. Last year, negative 0.4. The year before that, negative 0.2. And the year before that, minus 2.0. He was 2 games worse than a replacement player.
Wow. Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I mean, he had 23 home runs and over 100 RBIs. But, that...
286 on base percentage.
Yeah. Well, 386 slugging. Oof. I mean, there's years that he almost hit that with a batting average.
Well, I remember his final year in St. Louis, he batted 299. It was the first year ever he batted below 300, and people were like, wow, that's a terrible season for Albert Pujols.
Yeah, 2017, he had a 386 slugging percentage, whereas in 2003, he had a 359 batting average.
Mm-hmm.
And that year,
and a slugging of 667.
Yeah, so we're looking at a 300-point drop in slugging percentage. Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, that 300.
But right now,
that 300% is the difference between an average player and an MVP player.
Yeah, it is. And we're talking about a guy right now who is the current active leader in games, plate appearances, at-bats, runs scored, hits, doubles, home runs, RBI, and walks. And fun fact, he is the all-time leader in MLB history in ground balls double plays.
I mean, yeah, he's not fleet of foot.
No.
So not surprising. But yeah, I mean, let's switch gears a little bit to White Sox. I mean, the White Sox honestly have been the story of injuries. I mean, just quickly looking at these, Jimmy Lambert out until at least mid-September. Carlos Rodon, he's still out with a shoulder issue. Tim Anderson is still out with a groin. Nick Madrigal's out with a shoulder for another couple weeks. Aaron Bummer is out with a bicep injury for another couple weeks. Reynaldo Lopez is out for another week or so with a shoulder. Edwin Encarnacion is out still with the shoulder. I mean, the injuries are just piling up.
Yeah, the nice thing is that so far there hasn't been any like uber serious season-ending injuries. Knock on wood, big knock on wood.
But honestly, it doesn't even take that much at this point to have a season-ending injury.
No, it doesn't.
Because we're already a quarter of the way done with the season. So if you get, something that's a 6-week injury, that's essentially the end of the season.
Yeah. So you just hope that some of those guys can come back soon. I know Tim Anderson's supposed to be back fairly soon, isn't he?
Yeah, he I think day-to-day. Encarnacion is day-to-day at this point. But still, I mean, the Aaron Bummer one hurts. The Reynaldo Lopez hasn't looked great, but I mean, you don't have a lot of depth as far as your starting rotations, so that's a big one.
Yeah, and hopefully Madrigal can come back soon. That slide into third looked a lot uglier than it ended up being, luckily, because people were fearing broken bones. So good thing that
he's out till the end of the month. So I mean, by that time, we're almost halfway through the season.
Yeah, I'm just saying, broken bones would have been completely done. So it could have been worse.
Oh yeah, I mean, it could have been worse. I'm not arguing that. It's just with this abbreviated season, there's so little margin for error with injuries. Is in a normal season is you could break a bone and come back that season, because a broken bone, in a few weeks heals itself up. But I mean, depending on what the bone is and things like that. But it's honestly, now it's a couple week injury, and that's catastrophic for a team.
Yeah, hopefully they don't have to deal with many more of these, because they can't really afford right now to have too many more key injuries. Now, the nice thing is that they've gotten some really good performances out of other bullpen guys. So, hopefully they can step up too. And, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with it, because they're still trying to build as we go forward. They're trying to build more depth in the organization. Obviously, they're trying to try to fill in some gaps as we go along. It's just hard when you have an abbreviated season, no minor leagues, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. And I know Rick Hahn said that they're not really looking outside the organization for pitching right now. They probably feel like they don't want to give up any assets in such a short season. So, I can understand that. But, you just hope that you can keep going despite the injuries. It's going to be more difficult, but the past week they've had some ups, they've had some downs, which is normal for a young team, but you're still seeing enough promise where it's looking good. You're right in the thick of things, and you just hope that the key guys can find a groove again, because offensively they've struggled a little bit. They've been facing some quality pitching, but again, when you're a young team especially, you're going to go through stretches where you don't hit as well and stretches where you hit the bejesus out of the ball. So I just hope they can keep at least a nice pace going, because, they lost a few against Milwaukee. They lost against Cleveland yesterday, but they have a chance to win tonight. And, I think you'd take it where they are in this position record-wise. You just hope that the injuries don't cost you too much down the road.
I mean, I think that's part of the thing is, they're riding it out until Reynaldo Lopez comes back, apparently. Yesterday they did a bullpen start. 2 innings from Foster, one and a third from Anderson, 1 2/3 from Hamilton, 1 from Birdie, Fries, Cishek, Detweiler. So that's kind of what you're going with. And honestly, if CBS Sports is saying Reynaldo Lopez expected out till the 18th, so 9 days. So we're looking at probably 1, maybe 2 more starts. I don't know, man. That's a toughy one to ride out.
It is. It's not going to be easy.
To do both. I mean, I hope they're not planning to do 2 more bullpen starts.
No, because that did not go well.
But honestly, this team is had a rough start, but it's a good team. I mean, you look at the lineup you have. I mean, Eloy Jimenez is just a phenom at bat. We'll talk about his fielding in a minute. But Moncada is a legitimate player.
Mm-hmm.
Abreu, we know what he is. He's just a professional batter. Yasmani Grandal is starting to pick it back up and looking like the guy that you paid a bunch of money to.
Yep.
And Luis Robert, we know what he is, and he's stupid good.
And he's only going to get better.
So you've got a lot of pop, and you've got a lot of talented batters on that lineup. You've got a lot of young arms that you'll have in the future. It's sort of just riding it out, and this is that year where, you turn that corner, and you're starting to see that corner. Sure, it's been a long road because there was all the years where you weren't officially rebuilding, but you weren't competing either, and then finally the complete teardown and rebuild, and you're starting to see what it's going to look like at the major league level. And I'm still confident that the White Sox are going to be, because, the top 2 teams in the division are going to make the playoffs. I'm confident that the White Sox will be, one of the top 2 teams in this division.
Yeah, I'd put my money on that.
Minnesota is much better than I was expecting them to be. I thought we would see some regression, and we're not. But I mean, looking at this division, Detroit's in second. They're not a good team.
Please ignore that phone in the background.
No, I'm answering it.
Oh, you're going to answer it? Okay. All right. That's fair. Detroit's not going to keep this up. There's no way they're going to keep it up. They're going to fade away. And, I think the Indians are a solid team. I just don't think they're good enough. I don't think they have enough offense. They got nice pitching, but they don't have enough offense.
The problem is like I think they're just a man team, but they've had the White Sox number, and because you're playing the same teams over and over again because of the abbreviated COVID schedule and trying to keep things regionally, they've got the White Sox number, and that's kind of padded their stats a little bit. And hopefully the White Sox can take advantage of some of these other teams and have teams like the Cubs hopefully take care of Cleveland. Because if the Cubs can take both games of Cleveland, and that's a big if, who knows what happens. It's in a 2-game series. That's a toss-up what happens. I mean,
well, we just got to play it like we're down 3-1.
But if the Cubs can take both from Cleveland, the White Sox could leapfrog them, by midweek. So it's, there's so many teams are just bunched up there for second that I think the White Sox are on paper the best team of those 3. It's can we get these injuries, and can can we settle down the bottom of the rotation and stabilize that a little bit? Hopefully when Reynaldo Lopez comes back, he pitches a little better.
You're gonna need that.
But those bats are enough to keep you in the lineup, or in a game. Sorry, in a game, they're enough to keep you in there because you've got some pop there.
And I gotta say, I said it once, I'll say it again. The back end of that bullpen has been incredibly impressive, and that's made a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've talked so much praise on Eloy Jimenez, and I just want to take a step back, and he's not a good fielder. We
all knew this.
Yeah, but we saw it on display. We beat Kyle Schwarber up pretty good about being a bad fielder, and you know what? He's done a lot of things to be a better fielder.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's, when was the last time you heard anybody talk about how bad of an outfielder he was?
It's been a while.
I mean, not too many people talk about, him being an exceptional outfielder or anything, but he's competent. He's a competent outfielder. And I would probably say he's like an average. But Eloy's got a lot of work to do out there.
That play on the Yelich inside the park home run, I'm still very confused watching that. Okay, it's one thing to miss the ball right on the line. We've seen that happen with fielders plenty of times, but how he just kind of flopped into the net, when I saw that, I'm like, what? What?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it again. It really is baffling here. I just don't really have a lot of words.
Been swinging the bat very well.
So,
but
I'm playing it now.
At the same time, he is a guy that with one swing can find it.
White Sox up 2-1 here.
Cubs and Twins, right?
Out low and outside to Yelich.
Twins lost today.
Twins lost in a walk-off today to the Pirates. Kevin Newman with a 2 RBI single.
All right, here's Gonzalez with the pitch.
5-4, won the game for him.
Nope.
6-5.
Sliced it away. Come on, why don't they just start it right from the hit? And
Yelich late fouls it away.
Yelich there. Here we
And the
go.
1-2. Yelich.
There he is.
In
So
the air, left field, got some carry, but Jimenez
carries.
he can't make the
Eloy
play,
just completely
and it's a
missed it.
fair ball.
Then
Jimenez
it's
is
like
at
he
the net.
stopped and he
Yelich
dove into the net on
around
purpose.
second on his way to
Right,
third,
that's why I was so
and he's
confused.
gonna try to
And then
score. Here
it was a
comes
bad
and
throw,
Yelich is in
and then
there.
the relay
this
throw
game is all
from the
tied
relay
at
man
2.
home
there you go.
was 9 feet over the catcher's
Christian Yelich,
head.
he goes to the opposite field. He's been rolling over on a lot of.
I don't even know. So it's like a lazy fly, and Eloy is just jogging, and I think I wish I had another angle. It looks like he's looking back at the ball and just keeps running towards the padded wall, and then just gets caught up in the net. And Yelich, to his credit, just never stopped.
He just kept
going.
running.
Man, that's just a tough one. Here's another angle. Eloy, it looks like it just drifted, and I don't know if he slowed himself up because that low wall, that wall over there is it's literally his knee height where the wall is in that corner.
Right.
And I don't know if he was slowing down because he can't keep his eye on the ball and keep track of where that wall is. If it's a taller wall, you're okay, if I run into it, I'm running into it with my arms, with my chest. But if you run into it with your lower knee, that's like an injury happening. So I don't know if he got confused of where he was and then when he lost it, then looked back and then, missed where the wall was. But either way, it was a brutal play.
Very bizarre.
And, because of the end result, you have the highlight reel everywhere because it's Christian Yelich. It's not like it was some random guy that still would have got a lot of play because you don't get a lot of inside the park home runs, but because it's Christian Yelich, that was played everywhere. I mean, I saw I was pumping gas and it was on the gas station pump on the TV.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all over social media, and I watched it several times just to kind of figure out, and I was still really confused. So I'm like, huh. Okay then.
But I mean, the White Sox are right in this thing. My buddy Gary texted me today frantically about this team is done, and I think that's like a Chicago defeatist attitude. I think that's kind of ingrained into us where we're very pessimistic about our teams. I know as Cubs and Bears fans,
that's what we do.
It's what we do. It's just like, done. That's it. It's over. Sometimes I would like to have some of that Yankee fan bravado. I mean, not to the degree that Yankee fans carry it where you just want to smash them with a ball peen hammer. But just a little bit of it. And, just like, who cares? Bad inning. We're still going to win this. Our pizza is thin and greasy. Our Acme pizza is best. But honestly, the White Sox, I think they're fine. This is that turning point season. So, next year when you've got Kopech and you bring these other guys up, you're gonna be a better team. You're gonna be a far better team. You're gonna have your young hitters have whatever 60 games of playing time under their belt. You feel like you'll probably be able to stabilize your rotation a little better. Your bullpen's already good. This team it's such a bright future. It's just a little bit of waiting game, and I think this year, at the end of the season, you're going to see them make the playoffs.
I think so too. I don't see them missing the playoffs.
I'm pretty confident about it. And did they make any noise? I don't know. They could.
Who knows?
But it's just making the playoffs. I think that's a big thing. And I think that'll go a long way into making this team better next year and the year after.
Absolutely.
And then there's one topic I may want to talk about with the Bulls is we're getting reports that Jim Boylen is possibly going to stay on because of financial constraints with the Bulls organization.
So, can I go on my little anger tirade very quick right here?
Go for it.
Okay. The Chicago Bulls are one of the biggest brands in sports in the entire world. Even 20 plus years after Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, because of them, the Chicago Bulls are one of the biggest brands in sports. You are a cash cow every year. Even in bad years, you sell tickets, you sell merchandise, you get the TV ratings. Now, I understand that money has been lost in this industry, and a lot of it, we know it has. But you cannot tell me that they financially cannot afford to get a new coach. And frankly, what I think this is, and this is just my opinion, I don't know for sure, I don't have any inside information, this is just how I feel. I feel like ownership likes Jim Boylen, and they want to stand up for Jim Boylen, and the perfect excuse with everything that's going on just kind of fell into their lap. I think this is just their way of trying their best to keep Jim Boylen around. And at this point, why should I care? Why did I think that things were going to be different? It's, I was thinking, hey, maybe we're finally moving in a new direction. We've hired one of the smartest front office people in basketball, a guy who is praised by pretty much everybody. And yet the influence of the people that run the Bulls, the highest ups, the owners, John Paxson, whatever, they're still there. And they're still trying to be a part of this. That's what that says to me. It feels like right now, and Jimbo could still be fired. We don't know for sure, but to me, it feels like we were duped, and it's just the same old crap with this organization. So if it truly is, then it's not worth caring about at this point. And you know what? You are going to lose a lot of support. You're going to lose support from your fans over a measly few $1 million to pay Jim Boylen. It's incredible. And Rand.
So I'm just going to throw some numbers out here.
Okay.
And some stats and some facts. Do you know how much money they would have to pay Jim Boylen if they let him go for the next 2 years total?
I saw two numbers. Maybe I misread. I saw one that was like 2.1 million and another was like 4. Which one is it?
They would owe him about $3.5 million total.
Okay, so right in the middle.
Yeah,
that's chump change for that organization.
Do you remember when the Bulls sold the pick to the Golden State Warriors that ended up being Jordan Bell?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember how much money they got paid for that one pick?
It was about that amount, wasn't it?
It was $3.5 million.
Uh-huh.
So that's a net wash right there. Is the Bulls, despite being bad, have been one of the best selling home ticket sales team in the NBA over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go out here with, do you know what the current franchise value of the Chicago Bulls is for 2020?
I believe what I saw was a little over $3 billion.
It is
Maybe I'm wrong.
$3.2 billion. That's with a B.
3.2. Yep. Okay.
Do you know how much Jerry Reinsdorf paid for the Bulls?
It was something a lot smaller. I know that.
$9.2 million.
Oy.
So he made, doing a quick math, he made $3.2 billion profit on the Chicago Bulls. You couple that with, do you know how much he paid for the White Sox?
How much?
$19 million. Would you like to know what the White Sox are currently worth?
2 something? 1 something? 1 billion something? How much?
$1.65 billion. So again,
1.65. Okay.
Once again, he made roughly a $1.65 billion profit, making his total on a $28 million investment a value of $4.85 billion. And he can't pony up pennies to get rid of Jim Boylen and bring in a real coach to appease the fans and to go on a winning path. It's despicable. It's despicable.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's embarrassing.
It's beyond embarrassing. Again, you're one of the biggest brands in sports. You're not the Pelicans. You're not the Milwaukee Bucks. You're the Chicago Bulls.
It's deal with it. This is your team. You're an old man. You don't have that many years left on this earth. What is Jerry Reinsdorf's age? He's 84 years old. So he's already beyond the average male life expectancy. So this guy does not have that many years left. Why on earth wouldn't you just say, you know what? Screw it. I'll pay that $3.5 million to potentially see a winner in here.
Well, I just wonder, is it Jerry or is it his equally Jerry-ish son, Michael Reinsdorf, saying all this or thinking all this?
Jerry Reinsdorf's personal net wealth is $1.5 billion. $3.5 million is such a drop in the bucket. Like, I can't even explain to you how insignificant $3.5 million is to an estate of worth $1.5 billion, especially when you own the Chicago Bulls. I don't understand how.
And think about all the people that would come back and watch if he was gone. How much more money you'd make it even more.
Absolutely. Like I can't even, it's mind numbing to me. It's infuriating, and it's mind numbing. It's just a slap in the face. And it's an embarrassing black eye for this franchise and this city, to be honest with you.
As if they didn't have enough black eyes already. A bunch of bruises and punch outs and just embarrassing moments. That's kind of why part of me just thinks this is just a big excuse for them to stand for Jim Boylen, because he's their guy. They love Jim Boylen because they can control him and he can't fight back, and I don't know.
Yeah, I just, it's mind numbing. And the what he's worth is, I think sometimes, like, I know my mom, I was trying to explain to her, like, how much money $1 billion is. And that's not just like rich, that's just filthy, like, generational wealth. Like, nobody in your family is ever going to have a job for generations, and you'll still all be rich. Like, if you were to save $100 a day, able to just put it in a bank, save it, tuck it away in your piggy bank, is to reach $1 billion, you would have to save for over 27,000 years.
That puts a lot in perspective. Yes.
So let's say that one step is a 2-foot length. That's your average distance in a step. And so 2 feet per step is, you would have to go 2 billion feet traveled, you would have to travel around the equator, the most, the longest circumference of the earth. That got cut off on there, but I'm trying to do I'm Googling some explanations here of how big that is. All right. So if 1 million years is 1 inch, to make $1 billion. So if you made a stack of paper that's 1 inch and that represented 1 million, units, to make $1 billion, that would be the height of an 8-story building.
That also puts a lot in perspective, even more than the other one.
So you're like, Jerry Reinsdorf personal wealth is 1.5 billion. So that would be like a 12-story building. And that's just stupid to make. So he can't take 3.5 inches from that 12-story building to change the trajectory of this franchise.
Yeah, it's at this point it's not even worth getting mad over. If he's around, then I'm just not going to care at all. My level of apathy has been pretty high for the Bulls the past few years, and it's just going to continue if Boylen's around. If they do make a change, then I'll try to come back in. But if they don't, then why should I stick around?
I was just honestly really excited for AK to bring in his guy.
Me
and
too.
To see this whole entire franchise change around, and I wanted to come back and be like, all right, I feel like there's new, direction on this team, that I can be proud of this franchise, and nope.
That's a big NU, at least for the time being.
And my only hope is that the Reinsdorf floated that idea out there to see what people said. And I hope it comes back to them and that Bulls Twitter just ripped them a new one. And they're like, okay, all right, maybe 100% of Bulls Twitter is against us. Let's maybe let AK do his thing.
Please do. Just let him do his thing, man.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nope, I've said my piece.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, TuneIn app, Google Play, Spotify, any of them. We should be on there. Share this podcast with your friends. It's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at ShyFanPat1, at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com. Thank you guys again so much for listening, and until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears! Oh, when the Bears go bearing down.